So we are very fortunate to have Advocate Dharan here. He'll be taking us through the various aspects of the Vivad and Vivad se Vishwas scheme. I think the whole world needs this. We are having so many wars and all, so Vivad se Vishwas to hona hi chahiye. But today, we will be dealing only with the income tax aspects. And I request our immediate past convener, Purvi, to give a formal introduction to the speaker.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you, Vivad, for giving me this opportunity of introducing our today's faculty. Mr. Dharan Gandhi, he is a BCom, CA and LLB. He practices as an advocate and is regularly appearing before Honorable Supreme Court, Honorable Bombay High Court and other high courts, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, CIT Appeals and DRP, and specializes in corporate tax, international tax, transfer pricing and GST litigation. He was junior to Advocate Hero Rai and has also acquired training in his chamber for around 6.5 years. For a brief period, he had worked with Advaita Legal, the law firm associated with KPMG. He has successfully argued income tax cases for several clients before various forums, and he's also briefed and assisted senior counsels for various matters. He was a part of the team representing Chamber of Tax Consultants in the petition challenging ICDS before the Honorable Delhi High Court and in petition challenging the CBDT Central Action Plan giving incentives to CIT appeals before the Honorable Bombay High Court. He is the chairman of the Commercial and Allied Laws Committee of the Chamber of Tax Consultants for the year 2020 and 2021. He was a member of the Direct Tax Committee of the WIRC of ICAI for the year 1920, convener of the Direct Tax Committee of the Chamber of Tax Consultants for the year 1718 till 1920. He is a regular contributor to various professional journals and publications and is also a regular speaker at various forums on the issues of indirect taxes. He has co-authored the following books: Section 56 to 10, a treatise on Vivad se Vishwas Act 2020 in FAQ format, and the interpretation of statutes, FAQ. He has presented various papers at various RRCs and conferences, RRC organized by various different study circles and the Chamber of Tax Consultants. He's also a paper writer in the National Tax Conference 2019, organized by the All India Federation of Tax Practitioners and Association. With this brief welcome, I request you all to carry out a loud round of applause for welcoming our today's speaker. I also recognize the presence of our present WIRC Treasurer, C.A. Pinky Ketiaji, to present a memento and our bouquet to today's speaker. I would like to invite C.A. Rajkumar Agarwalji and C.A. Pinky Ketiaji.
The convener, deputy convener, and the committee members of the JB Nagar Study Circle, the office bearers of WRC, of ICI, the seniors in the profession, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to one and all. So I'm called upon on a Sunday morning, a rainy Sunday morning, to burden you all with my boring words on Vivad se Vishwas. So I'm told the topic was Vivad se Vishwas, the block assessment provisions and the reassessment provisions, amendments in the Finance Act 2024. Starting with Vivad se Vishwas, we had a scheme Vivad se Vishwas in 2020, just before the start of lockdown. The scheme continued till December 2020, and now within a gap of about 3 years, you have another Vivad se Vishwas 2024. The reason for this, as given by the Honorable Finance Minister in the explanatory memorandum, is that it has been the endeavor of CBDT to provide expeditious disposal of appeals by the appellate authorities under its administrative control. One such measure was Direct Tax Vivad se Vishwas Act 2020. Scheme got a very encouraging response. Pendency of litigation at various levels has been on the rise due to larger number of cases being filed than the number of disposals. Keeping in view the success of previous Vivad se Vishwas and the mounting pendency of appeals at CIT appeal level, they are now coming out with a Vivad se Vishwas 2024. I am surprised that within 3 years, they had to come out with another dispute resolution scheme. The only reason for coming out with another scheme is a part of the government appeals pending before CIT appeal across India has ballooned up to 5.5 lakhs. And this is something which is coming from the ministry itself, that they are incapable of disposing of all the appeals. And all this ballooning up started only after faceless appeals were introduced. Prior to faceless appeals, the appeals were getting disposed of. A tectonic shift in the approach of the government to have everything faceless, but something which is not accepted by their very officers. Okay, so you will receive number of notices of hearing online. You will file reply. Still you will receive same notice of hearing, file reply. 3 times, 4 times you have filed reply, appeal is not getting disposed of. So it is because of the failure on their part, you have another Vivad se Vishwas. I hope there are no officers of the department here. Even if they are, they're aware of the reality. What were the earlier schemes? Kar Vivad Samadhan Scheme 1998, Direct Tax Dispute Resolution Scheme 2016, Vivad se Vishwas Act 2020, and now Vivad se Vishwas Scheme 2024. So within the tenure of this government, there are 3 dispute resolution schemes. Now I want to ask myself a question. Under the Vivad se Vishwas Act, they say we'll only collect tax, we'll forego your interest, and we'll forego your penalty. Okay. Now they have made various additions, some 5.5 lakhs appeal pending, some 18 lakh crore of revenue is pending in appeals. Now, who is responsible for this revenue loss? Where is the accountability? गवर्नमेंट को तो इंटरेस्ट मिलना था, पेनल्टी मिलना था, वो नहीं मिलेगा अभी. Because the executive is not performing well, because the appeals are not getting disposed of. Who is responsible? Second question, how far the scheme will be successful? Two reasons. Last scheme in 2020, जिसको जिसको dispute resolve करना था तो उन्होंने कर दिया था 2020. What has transpired between 2020 and 2024 that they had to come out with a news? कितने नए orders पास हुए? आधे orders तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अटके, वो आशीष अग्रवाल केस में. The number of writ petitions filed, challenging reassessment proceeding, everything is stalled. Two, they cannot resolve those reassessment cases because the Bombay High Court and all other high courts are in favor of the assessee. So how many fresh orders passed after 2020 which people will settle in Vivad se Vishwas? 8. Their intention is we want to reduce the pendency at CIT appeal level. Because of the mounting pendency, they are not able to, no, tribunals are sitting free. Within 3 months, your appeal is getting listed for hearing. Earlier, it used to be 6 months to 8 months. Now it is coming up for hearing in 3 months' time. I have serious doubts how successful this scheme will be. Especially bearing in mind one fact that if your appeal was pending when the earlier scheme was there, and if your appeal is pending now at the same forum, you have to pay 10% extra. आपका पर्पस है सीआईटी अपील को अपील कम करना है. आपको भी पता है सारी अपील वहां अटकी पड़ी है. So if in January 2020 your appeal was pending before CIT appeal, if in July 2024 your appeal is pending before same CIT appeal, you have to pay 10% extra for settling under this Vivad se Vishwas. Now, if your purpose is to reduce the pendency, of appeals before CIT appeal, how can you ask assessee to pay 10% more than what you were asking them to pay in the earlier scheme? Assessee did not file an application under the earlier scheme hoping that they will get hearing, hoping that the appeal will be disposed of. There was a failure in the machinery of disposal of appeal. You are not able to tackle this many appeals. Therefore, you come out with another scheme. How can you charge 10% more? Of course, their logic is, जिन्होंने तभी सेटल किया है, उन्होंने 3 साल पहले टैक्स पे किया है. आप आज सेटल कर रहे हो, तो you have to pay 10% extra. But हम आज इसलिए सेटल कर रहे हैं because आप डिस्पोज नहीं कर पा रहे अपनी. You are not able to dispose of the appeals. That is why I am forced to come under Vivad se Vishwas. So this is the basic background behind this Vivad se Vishwas scheme. Naturally, it's just a scheme. We are yet to come across the rules, the forms. Also, there would arise many litigation, many controversies because of lack of clarifications. There will be FAQs, there will be circulars. Today, what we have is only the scheme. Now, going by the scheme, who may apply under the scheme? If your appeal is pending before CIT appeal, ITAT, High Court, or if your writ petitions are pending before High Court, or if your SLP is pending before the High Court, as on 22nd July 2024, then you can apply under Vivad se Vishwas. 2. In case of eligible assessee, there's a draft order passed under 144C. You can file an objections before DRP. Your objections are pending disposal before DRP as on 22nd July 2024. You are eligible. 3. DRP has passed directions, has issued directions. AO has to pass final assessment order under 144C5. The same is pending as on 22nd July 24. You are eligible. And last, instead of filing an appeal, you have filed a revision application under section 264 before the commissioner or principal commissioner, the same is pending as on 22nd July 2024, then you are eligible to apply under Vivad se Vishwas scheme. One of the major differences between this scheme and the last scheme is, in the last scheme, a person who could have filed an appeal, time limit to file appeal had not expired as on the specified date. So suppose आपका assessment order pass हुआ 31st December को of say 5th January 2020 को. So as on 31st January 2020, time limit to file CIT appeal had not expired. Or if Commissioner Appeals has passed an order on 31st December 2019, time limit to file ITAT appeal has not expired on 31st of January 2020. So cases where orders have been passed, but time limit to file appeal has not expired, even those cases were covered under the earlier scheme. In this scheme, those cases are not. So गलती से if you are a lucky person and आपका CIT appeal ने order pass कर दिया in May 2024, you could have filed appeal before the tribunal within 60 days time. Last day to file appeal is after 22nd July 2024. Had it been the earlier scheme, you were eligible to apply under Vivad se Vishwas. Under the new scheme, you are not eligible to apply under Vivad se Vishwas. So first major point, that proposed appeals are not, which were covered under the earlier scheme. Who are excluded from Vivad se Vishwas? Specific section. Who are excluded from Vivad se Vishwas? Yes. Under the earlier scheme, if an assessment order was passed under 144, 143.3, 144, 153A, 153C, pursuant to a search proceeding, and the tax involved in the appeals were more than 5 crore, you were not eligible under the earlier scheme. Now, under the new scheme, when an assessment is made under 143.3, 144, 147, 153A, 153C, an assessment is made on the basis of search or requisition, you are not eligible. Firstly, threshold of 5 crore is removed. Therefore, you are not eligible. अगर आपका search SSC है, you are not eligible. Now there is a problem here. I'll give you examples. There is a search in case of a person. He is a builder. He has accepted in his statement that I have taken on money from various buyers. As a result of his statement, as a result of his search, there's a reassessment proceeding going on in your client's case under 147. Now, can your client settle the appeal under Vivad se Vishwas, or is he covered by the exception? Because assessment is on the basis of search conduct. So this controversy arose in the earlier scheme as well. There again, the department stated that on all these kind of cases, your case is a case of search. On the basis of search, and since it is more than 5 crores, you are not eligible. Or if it is less than 5 crore, under earlier Vivad se Vishwas scheme, you had to pay 25% extra. So the income tax department, in all these cases where the reopening of assessment had taken place on account of search in case of some other party, the tax department had asked for disputed tax plus 25%, and not disputed tax. The matter traveled up to Bombay High Court, and the Bombay High Court came out with the ruling that in the case of an assessee who is not searched, but in whose case you have conducted reassessment proceeding based on the information received in respect of search of another party, will not be covered by the exception, will not be covered by the higher threshold of 25%, and it's a normal case, they can settle it. So since the wording of the last Vivad se Vishwas and this Vivad se Vishwas is almost similar, we can rely on those judgments and say that these cases would be covered and an assessee would be eligible to settle the appeal under Vivad se Vishwas. अगर ये केस निकल गया ना सर 147 वाले जिसका रीओपनिंग हुआ on the basis of search, then the scheme is complete failure. Pending before CIT appellate tribunal. Last around 7 to 8 years, I have never seen a pure litigation case. I have purchases, accommodation entry, unsecured loan, share capital, penny stock, or money. And all these cases are only because of statement recorded of a person in the course of search, information gathered during the course of search, and therefore your case is reopened. So if the department says this type of cases are not covered, then the scheme is a complete failure. Nobody will opt for the scheme. What are the other exceptions? If in your case, prosecution has been launched, then you are not eligible to settle your appeal under Vivad se Vishwas. Now again, here there was a controversy under the earlier scheme. The wordings are absolutely same. Prosecution launched for non-payment of essay tax. Whereas the additions in the appeal concern some other issues. Or prosecution launched for non-payment of TDS. What I want to settle is additions made in the course of assessment proceeding, which has got nothing to do with the prosecution launched. So in all these type of cases, department says since prosecution has been launched in your case for the same year under the Income Tax Act will not allow you to settle the appeal. Matter traveled up to the Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court in case of Macrotech developers held that prosecution is on a different issue, though for the same year. Appeal is on a different issue. You can settle the appeal. Then the next exception is if addition relates to any undisclosed income or undisclosed asset located outside India. Your foreign assets, undisclosed foreign assets, you can't settle. If an addition is based on information received under a DTAA or an information exchange agreement, you can't settle. Then there are exceptions where if you have been prosecuted under Indian Penal Code or Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or if you have been prosecuted under some of the acts like Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, Prevention of Benami Act, Prevention of Corruption Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, or in respect of Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Acts. So if you have been prosecuted or a prosecution has been launched under all these acts, then you're not eligible. These exceptions are also there in the last scheme. Then the next important definition is the definition of the term disputed tax. What do you mean by disputed tax? Because what you have to pay is disputed tax. Disputed tax. If your appeal is pending before any appellate forum, disputed tax means tax as if your appeal is going to be dismissed. So whatever amount of tax you're supposed to pay, that is disputed tax without interest, without penalty. Similarly, if your objections are pending before DRP, as if DRP is going to confirm the objections, if DRP has passed or issued directions, matter is pending before the assessing officer to pass the final assessment order, tax which one is supposed to pay as if a final order is passed, and in case of a revision application pending, as if your revision application is to be decided against you, you will compute tax, ignoring interest and ignoring the penalty. Also, there is a separate provision for computing disputed tax in case of loss cases and MAT credit cases. So there, now at this stage, section says either take your loss amount or MAT credit amount as your income and pay tax, option 1, or don't pay tax right now, but forget your loss, forget your credit. In future years, wherever you set it off, we will not allow it to be set off and you have to pay tax. Ideally, in such type of cases, if you have already availed the loss, better to pay tax in this year without any interest and penalty, because if this set off is not allowed in subsequent years, in those years there will be a demand with interest and maybe penalty. So the first option is preferable if you have already availed a set off. The third difference from the earlier scheme and this scheme is, in the earlier scheme, they had a provision that if your appeal is pending before CIT appeal, and CIT appeal has a power to enhance, if he has issued you a show cause of enhancement, then tax on that show cause of enhancement is also forming part of disputed tax. ये earlier scheme में था. ये scheme में enhancement and all things are not there. So disputed tax is as if your CIT appeal is going to dismiss your. That's it. वैसे भी CIT appeal ने last 3 साल में तो कुछ काम किया है नहीं. Enhancement का notice तो आया ही नहीं रहेगा किसी को. How much amount to be paid under Vivad se Vishwas Act 2024? In normal cases, if you make payment before 31st December 2024, in normal cases, then you only have to pay your tax amount, interest penalty goes. If you make payment after 31st December 2024, up to a specified date which you are going to notify, you have to pay disputed tax plus 10%. However, if you were an appellant, as on the first Vivad se Vishwas scheme, 31st of January 2020, today also you are an appellant and your appeal is pending before the same forum, you have to pay disputed tax plus 10% up to 31st December 2024, and after 31st December 2024, you have to pay disputed tax plus 20%. So some benefit to the people who have availed of the earlier scheme, उनको थोड़ा दिखाने के लिए ये देखो हम आपसे ज्यादा चार्ज करवा रहे हैं इनके पास से 10% more. Now, naturally, if your quantum appeal is pending, interest and penalty has to go. There is no separate mechanism for filing a Vivad se Vishwas for a penalty which is also pending. It naturally goes. Everything goes. But if quantum appeal is not pending, what is pending is, or what is in dispute is levy of interest or levy of penalty or levy of fees. So quantum is not pending. What is pending is appeal against either interest or penalty or fees. You have to pay normally 25% of the disputed fee, disputed interest or disputed penalty up to 31st December. After 31st December, you have to pay 30%. But if your appeal was pending as on 31st January 2020 and appeal is pending as on 22nd July 2024 before the very same appellate forum, you have to pay 5% more. So instead of 25, you will pay 30 before 31st December, and you will pay 35 after 31st of December up to a notified date. Now, two differences from the earlier scheme and this scheme insofar as the payment is concerned. First difference, एक थ्रेशोल्ड डेट के बाद आपको 5% या 10% एक्स्ट्रा भरना है. So in the earlier scheme, they had a marginal relief clause. What is marginal relief? If 10% extra which you have to pay, if 10% extra which you have to pay is more than the interest and penalty, then that amount will be restricted to the interest and penalty. तो एक मार्जिनल रिलीफ क्लॉज था जो ये नई स्कीम में नहीं है. And the second difference is, in a case where there was a search, disputed tax is less than 5 crores, you are not falling within the exception, you can apply under the earlier Vivad se Vishwas scheme, you had to pay disputed tax plus 25% under the earlier scheme. Now, since in this scheme, this category of person are completely out of the scheme, there is no threshold of 5 crores, therefore this category of disputed tax and payment is not available. पहले 5 करोड़ का थ्रेशोल्ड था, अभी वो थ्रेशोल्ड नहीं है. Entire category is out, and therefore this separate category of payment is not there in the Vivad se Vishwas. Two more exceptions. If the appellant is department, you have to pay disputed tax ka 50%. If they are in appeal, you don't have to pay the entire tax amount, you have to pay 50% of that. Or if your appeal is pending before CIT appeal on an identical issue in your own case, ITAT, High Court or Supreme Court is in your favor. Or if your appeal is pending before ITAT and on an identical issue, High Court and Supreme Court are in your favor. In your own case, then the disputed tax amount ka 50% you will have to pay. So if it's a covered issue, naturally, if it's a covered issue, nobody will settle the appeal. Why will they settle the appeal if the higher forum is with you? So they are giving you an offer. ठीक है भाई, dispute खत्म करो, 50% pay करो of what you otherwise were eligible to pay and close the matter. How to compute tax on a loss case, on a depreciation case, on a MAT credit case, we are yet to look at the rules. They are yet to notify the rules. We know the rules. Probably it would be the same, but we have to wait and watch. Procedure remains same. You have to file form 1 and you have to file form 2. Within 15 days, the designated authority, that is principal commissioner or commissioner, will issue form 3. On receipt of that form, you have to withdraw your appeals pending before various forums. You have to make payment of tax within 15 days. Proof of withdrawal, proof of payment of tax has to be filed along with form number 4 to the designated authority, and they will issue you form number 5, closing the entire appeal. Procedure remains same, there is no change. What are the benefits which you get is you will not be saddled with any penalty. There will be no prosecution in respect of the issues under consideration. Moreover, form 5 will be a conclusive proof for the issues which have been settled. There will be no reassessment proceeding, no revision proceeding pursuant to that. Once it is settled, it is settled. They cannot reopen or they cannot revise the assessment order. If suppose you have paid more tax, now you want to settle, you will get the amount of tax as a refund. For example, if your tax demand is 100, interest is 50. Since department was forcing upon you or they have adjusted your refund, you have paid entire 150. Now you settle your appeal under Vivad se Vishwas. What you are supposed to pay is only the tax amount, but you already paid including the interest amount. Therefore, 50 rupees you're supposed to get as refund. That they'll pay you without interest under section 244. Now here, our experience of the past scheme shows that in some of the cases, refund under Vivad se Vishwas are yet to be received. Or refund under Vivad se Vishwas have been received after a substantial gap of 2 years or 3 years, etc. In all those cases, high courts have allowed interest at the rate of 6% to the assessor. If the department is sitting over your refund under Vivad se Vishwas, you are not entitled to 244A. But as a matter of compensation, High Court says give them 6%, you are sitting over the refund. We have a Bombay High Court judgment, we have a Delhi High Court judgment. Because as per the CBDT Central Action Plan, once Form 5 is issued, they have to issue an order giving effect within 1 month's time. Grant refund is within 1 month's time. Time limits are prescribed in their internal circular. Please process everything, finish off everything within 1 month's time. You are reminding, please do this, please do this. They are not acting on a reminder. Assessees approach court. Of course, we are approaching them since last 2 years. They are not giving us refund despite number of follow-ups. High Court says pay compensation at the rate of 6% per month, 6% per annum. Yes. Now, there might arise number of issues pursuant to receipt of clarification, etc. At this stage, it is too nascent to discuss all these issues. This is the basic feature of the scheme. Scheme is at the scheme stage, no rules, no forms, nothing has been notified, no FAQs, nothing. So we will have to wait for the clarifications to discuss further on Vivad se Vishwas. Insofar as some of the issues which had come up earlier, and we already have some court rulings or some FAQs, let me discuss some of those issues. If your appeals have been filed belatedly, but pending as on 22nd July 2024, you should be eligible to go under Vivad se Vishwas. Appeal is pending as on 22nd July 2024. Appeal is heard. Order is not passed as on 22nd July 24. You should be eligible because it is pending as on 22nd July 24, unless person acts in a perverse manner and passes a backdated order. Your rectification application or MA application is pending before CIT appeal or ITAT, or a review application is pending before High Court, etc. You should be eligible to go under Vivad se Vishwas. Your writ is filed and pending against the 148 notice. Some problem, but according to me, they should allow you to go under Vivad se Vishwas because lot of cases writs have been filed and they might be interested in settling of those appeals as well. In the earlier scheme, they had come out with the clarification that an appeal filed against an intimation under 143(1)(a), subclause 2 and 3 are not eligible. God knows what is the reason, but they came out with this clarification. We went to Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court says there is no basis for this kind of exception. All appeals against 143 on intimation are also eligible to be settled under Vivad se Vishwas. What if the assessment order is set aside? ITAT set aside the assessment order or appeal order and sends you back to CIT appeal. So appeal is pending before CIT appeal, you can settle. What if the ITAT has set aside the matter and the matter is pending before the AO? Under the earlier scheme, you were eligible to go under Vivad se Vishwas. We are yet to receive clarification in this regard. You are in appeal, department is in appeal. You only want to settle your appeal, not department appeal. You can do that. You are in appeal for the same year against 143(3), against 147, against 263. Several appeals for same year. You can settle one of the appeals and choose not to settle the other appeals. But you are in appeal, there are 3 issues in the appeal. You want to settle only one issue, not permissible. You have to settle your entire appeal. (201) में भी TDS का disallowed करके you have been treated as assessing default and 40A1A का भी disallowance हुआ है. The earlier clarification stated that you pay tax under 201, 40A1A also will get settled. You have to pay tax only once. So far as Vivad se Vishwas is concerned, not available.
Sir, somebody, because of somebody's search, you have been served on notice and you are being suspended. Now there is no appeal or something like that. Assessment.
Assessment pending as on 22nd July 2024, you can't settle. Only if appeal is pending as on 20. तो सर वो एमनेस्टी स्कीम हो गया. अगर आपका असेसमेंट पेंडिंग और आपको सेटल करने दिया तो आपका एमनेस्टी स्कीम ही है. ये भी एमनेस्टी स्कीम ही है. Because they are foregoing interest. What about genuine taxpayers? What about bona fide taxpayers? They are paying taxes regularly. You found some assessees not paying tax regularly. You charge interest and penalty. वैसे मैं भी टैक्स पे नहीं करूंगा. आप इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी चार्ज करो. 3 साल में विवाद से विश्वास आएगा, मैं सेटल कर दूंगा. I mean, the larger issues or serious issues which one should think not on a Sunday morning, some other time, is who should be held accountable for revenue loss. We used to have a judge in Bombay High Court, Justice Dharmadhikari. Department has this policy that if the tax effect is less than 50 lakh or 1 crore, then they'll have to withdraw the appeal. Judge never used to allow it. He said, why other assessees are suffering because of your policy? Who is going to bear this loss? What if the department is going to be successful and you are able to recover the tax, interest and penalty? You're foregoing that. Who is responsible for that? Who is accountable for that? Chalo tax effects side pe rakho for a moment. But Vivad se Vishwas, you are writing in black and white because we are not able to dispose of this. Therefore, we want you to settle. Complete failure of government machinery. Let me not mince any word. It's a complete failure of government machinery. For whatever reasons, for whatever policies they are following, you are not in a capacity to dispose of 5.5 lakh appeals. Appeals are mounting. And this scheme is only for your appeals pending before CIT appeal. It's for everybody, but their focus is on appeals pending before CIT appeal. They have come out with the CBDT Central Action Plan, which says that they have identified some 5,000 appeals. These 5,000 appeals have a combined tax effect or tax revenue of 10 lakh crores. So आप समझो 4.5 लाख 5.5 लाख अपील पेंडिंग है, 18 लाख का टैक्स इफेक्ट टैक्स अरियर्स पेंडिंग है, उसमें से 10 लाख करोड़ तो सिर्फ 5,000 अपील का है. So they want to focus on these 5,000 appeals. बाकी आप सब विवाद से विश्वास में जाते. I mean, if somebody challenges it, I think High Court will thrash this scheme out. What rubbish. Within 3 years, you had to come out with Vivad se Vishwas again. What was the compulsion? And that shows desperation, that shows failure. I'm not sure how successful this scheme would be. Probably somebody is frustrated. कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा है. CIT bill पे appeal pending है, कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा है. Probably somebody is frustrated. They will go, but they'll have to pay 10% extra. So topic for you to apply your mind, you to brainstorm. Topic not capable of being discussed on a Sunday morning.
That's the thing. Appeal was pending on 22nd July.
You can file under Vivad se Vishwas. Now let us come to probably, I think, a surprise for you all, but it was scheduled for me. Block assessment provisions, which have been forming part of the Finance Act 2020. Again, look at the policy of this government. I'll first deal with the history of block assessment. Very interesting. What is this block assessment? If you are searched, we'll have a separate mechanism to assess you because we have a lot many things to cover. In 1995, they came out with a block assessment provision. 6 years or 10 years prior to the year of search, up to the date of search is a block period. Any addition which they want to make, basis incriminating material found in the course of search will be made in the block assessment. Any other addition having no relevance or connection with search proceeding will be made in a normal assessment. So there were two parallel assessments, one for block and one for normal assessments. This happened from 95 to 2003. In 2003, they said we will come out with 153A and 153C. 6 years prior to the year of search, they got rid of. That saga continued till 2021. From 1/4/21, if you are search, we will reassess under 147. They came out with a combined new reassessment scheme to take care of normal reassessments and search related reassessments. So no block assessment, no 153 and 153C, everything will be reassessment. In 3 years' time, they realized, oh no, we have to go back to block assessment. And let me read the explanatory memorandum. And this I have also written in my article. I'll read from explanatory memorandum. These are not my words. So let me read from 2021 first. Yes. In case where search is initiated under section 132 or books of accounts, the documents or any assets are acquisition under section 132A, assessment is made in the case of an assessee or any other person in accordance with special provisions of 153A, B, C, D of the Act that deals specifically with such cases. Provisions were introduced by Finance Act 2003 to replace block assessment. This was done due to the failure of block assessment in its objective of early resolution of search assessment. Also, the procedural issues related to block assessments were proving to be highly litigation prone. Therefore, 153A. However, the experience with this procedure, 153A, has been no different. Like the provisions for block assessment, these provisions have also resulted into number of litigations. 3 साल पहले इनका व्यू था ब्लॉक असेसमेंट तो बकवास है. It is resulting into litigation. And within 3 years, they come out with block assessment provisions. The reason for that is also very startling. It is under the heading simplification and rationalization. Let me not say anything more. Please see the reason. It has been gathered from the field formations that there are multiple problems that are arising under the present scheme of search assessment under section 148. Absence of any legal requirement for consolidated assessments in such cases has led to a situation where every year only time barring year is reopened in case of the searched assessee. ये कौन ऐसा कर रहा है? Why you are only reopening time barring cases? This is department's problem. There's a search, you reopen 10 years. But what you do is you only reopen one year each time barring date. This results in staggered search assessments for same search, and consequentially, the searched assessee may be engaged in search assessment process for almost up to 10 years. For whose fault? Who is not working efficiently? Who is issuing notices at the last moment? So as such, there is no failure of law. Here now the failure is of the executive in implementing the law. This is a time-consuming process which escalates the litigation cost for the taxpayer as well as for the department. For the duration of such period, legal position on an issue may undergo change, leading to different editions in different years on the same issue. Moreover, since such a long duration is involved, there is a possibility of change of opinion with respect to the line of inquiry. Further, due to staggered assessment, coordinated investigation is not feasible in such cases. In short, they are saying, हमारे पास बैंडविड्थ नहीं है, आपके यहाँ सर्च हुआ, तो हम एवरी ईयर का नोटिस इशू करते हैं बेसिस टाइम बारिंग डेट. सो सपोज 10 साल एक्सपायर हुआ है तो मैं उसका नोटिस इशू करूंगा. दूसरे साल का 10 साल अगर नेक्स्ट ईयर एक्सपायर होगा तो मैं नेक्स्ट ईयर में नोटिस इशू करूंगा. Since it is getting staggered, therefore we are scrapping this. Now, why is it getting staggered? Because your officer is not issuing notice. What has that got to do with the validity of law? Law is proper, law is in place. Your officer sits over it. He will issue notice in a staggered manner. How can you say law is a failure? And how can you go back to something which you yourself called a failure? Highest level of change of opinion. Within 3 years, they think we have to come out with a new provision. They come out with the block assessment provision. So this is the background before going into the block assessment provisions. Something which the Honorable Finance Minister stated 3 days back, 3 or 4 days back, and which I will also state, the quality of drafting. Horrible. The income tax, the block assessment provisions, this I am saying since last, I think, 6-7 years. 271(1)(c पेनल्टी था, उसमें फॉर्मूला आ गया था a minus b plus c minus d. रिकलेक्ट, मैट के लिए एक फॉर्मूला आ गया था. जब से वो फॉर्मूला आ गया तब से ड्राफ्टिंग हैज गॉन डाउन. Earlier the drafting used to be done by Ministry of Law. Now the drafting is done by Ministry of Finance. And if you read the provisions, 115 BAC, 15% tax rate if you are coming out of the new manufacturing facility. That scheme was announced by the Honorable Finance Minister while she was in Goa. By way of an ordinance. Ordinance के बाद 6 महीने के बाद उनको एक एक्ट लाना पड़ता है. Ordinance और एक्ट में जमीन आसमान का फर्क था, because they realized there are a lot of defects in the ordinance. They came out with at least 6 to 7 provisos to cover the defects. That shows the level of drafting. What is the hurry? Penalty section 278, section 148, read the law. So many defects, so many inaccuracies, so many lacunas, which people are exploiting there to their benefit. Then you say, oh no, we are not successful. Because you are creating or drafting such kind of law. Read this law, sir. Read block assessment provision. This is the worst piece of legislation in the history. What they have done, to give a background, they have combined earlier block assessment and 153A assessment together. How? Earlier block assessment, we will assess only undisclosed income in block assessment, other income in normal assessment, parallel assessments. 153A, 153C, forget block assessment. All your pending assessments will abate, and we will now assess you under 153A, 153C. They have clubbed it together. We will now assess you for the block period, and all your pending assessment goes. We will now assess you for the block period, not for only undisclosed income, but for your total income. And tax you at 60%. Though the other way of looking at the block provisions is pay tax at 60%, go free. It's like an amnesty. Settlement Commission निकाल दिया है और ये लेके आ गए लोग. No interest, no penalty, nothing. Pay tax at 60%. If you disclose your amount, undisclosed income in your return of income, pay tax at 60%, you are free. Not sure about prosecution. So other way of looking at the block assessment provision is it's an amnesty scheme. No penalty. Assuming for a moment, किसी के यहाँ सर्च हुआ, कुछ मटेरियल मिला, आपके यहाँ 153C हुआ. They'll make addition. After revised 1718, you have to pay tax in respect of additions under section 68, 69, etc. under 115 BBE at 60%. Correct? Plus surcharge, plus cess, plus penalty. So I am told it goes up to I think 75 to 80%. 60% pay karo, छूटो. Memorandum says no surcharge, no cess. So if you are a search SSC, आपने गलत किया है, तो हम आपको बेनिफिट देंगे. सेकेंड केस, बिल्डर के यहाँ पे सर्च हुआ, बिल्डर को मालूम, बिल्डर ने बोला कि मैंने ऑन मनी रिसीव किया है. Because of that, your case is reopened, not under this block assessment, but your case is reopened under 147. The land is on money under 69A. So in your hands, you will pay tax at 60 plus surcharge plus cess plus penalty plus interest because ये 4 साल पहले का रहेगा. Builder will pay 60% and go. So this is the scheme. Can't help. Now, some basic features of the scheme. Tax at the rate of 60% without surcharge and cess. Very quickly. They have defined block period. Block period is a breather for the SSCs because earlier it was up to 10 years. Under 158 BC old, under 153A, 153C also it was up to 10 years if the income of more than 50 lakh has escaped assessment. Here for a change, they have restricted it to 6 years. 6 years prior to the year of search and up to the date of last of the execution of the Panchnama. That is 158B clause A. 158B clause B defines the term undisclosed income. Now this is a very confusing definition. Reason being, undisclosed income is defined at 2 places. Undisclosed income defined in 158B clause B is money, bullion, jewelry, other value, article or thing, or expenditure income based on any entries in the books of accounts, documents or transactions, where such money, bullion, jewelry, valuable article, thing, entry in books of accounts, documents, transactions represents wholly or part income or property which has not been or would not have been disclosed, or any expense, deduction or allowance claimed under this act which is found to be incorrect in respect of the block period. In effect, they are saying we found some material in the course of search which shows your undisclosed income. That is your undisclosed income, not your normal additions. As we discussed earlier, what they are taxing under 158B provisions, block assessment provisions, is not your undisclosed income, which was there earlier. Now they want to tax your total income. They'll tax you on your total income. Next logical question should be, sir, total income will be taxed at what rate? 60% is a rate of tax prescribed for additions made or an assessment made under block assessment. Will that same rate of 60% apply to everything which is added under block assessment and to everything which is disclosed under block assessment? I don't know. Law is absolutely gray. They say total income under block assessment will tax you at 60%. They define what will be taxed under block assessment. There are 5 categories, which includes A, your income which you have disclosed in return of income filed in respect to block assessment. Your assessed income, इसके पहले अगर prior assessment हुआ है तो assessed income. Your income which you have disclosed in your original return of income. Any additions pertaining to the year of search up to the date of search basis the undisclosed income found. And 5, additions of undisclosed income made by the assessing officer. ये सब आपका ऐड होगा ब्लॉक में. At the same time, they say tax on the entire thing at 60%. But then they say, while computing total income, for the purpose of computing tax at 60%, only consider amount which you have disclosed in block return and amount which the assessing officer adds as undisclosed income. तो बीच वाले 3 चीज का क्या? Either it is not supposed to be taxed or it is supposed to be taxed at a normal rates. That is not clarified. Now the procedure. They'll assess 6 years and up to the date of search. All pending assessments as on that date shall abate. All transfer pricing proceedings as on that date shall abate. But if what is pending as on the date of the search is a block assessment for the earlier search, that will not abate. पहले जूने वाले ब्लॉक का ब्लॉक खत्म करो, फिर नए वाले ब्लॉक का ब्लॉक. (158) subsection 1 defines what is your total income. Total income referred to in 158 of block period shall be aggregate of the following. It shall be total of the following. First, total income disclosed in the return furnished under 158 BC. Total income assessed under 143(3), 144, 147, 153, 153C prior to the date of initiation of search. Juna assessed income. Total income declared in the return of income filed under 139(1) on response to 142(1) or 148 and not covered under clause 1 and clause 2. So अगर आपका रिटर्न इनकम ऑलरेडी कवर हो चुका है आगे तो उसको आप कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे. Total income determined where previous year is not ended on the basis of entries relating to such income or transactions as recorded in the books of accounts and other documents printed in the normal course of business on or before the last day of the authorization. Year of search ka addition. Undisclosed income determined by the assessing officer under subsection 2. It's an aggregate of 5 amount. Now I have a problem here. Your returned income, original, will be counted twice. If you have already assessed earlier, you have to show your total income in response to a return filed under 158 BC. Naturally, your total income will include your income which you have disclosed earlier or returned income plus the income which you want to disclose pursuant to search. Suppose your returned income is 5 crores for 6 years originally, and what you want to disclose is again 5 crores. So what will your return of income in response to 158 BC show as? 10 crores. You will add amount of income assessed earlier. किसी एक साल का, ये समझो 5 साल का असेसमेंट हुआ है. 5 साल तो नहीं पॉसिबल है बिकॉज वो अबेट हो जाएगा. 3 साल का असेसमेंट हुआ है. 3 साल का इनकम 1 करोड़ जो मेरा रिटर्न था वो तो उन्होंने ऐड किया ही है, प्लस दे हैव मेड 2 करोड़ का एडिशन. So 5 crore is my assessed income, which includes 3 crores income which I have already returned. That will again be added to your total income. So 3 crore income जो 3 साल का आपने पहले disclose किया है in 158 BC return is also forming part of your assessed income, is added twice. Clause C में they write income declared in the return of income under 139(1) if you have not included the same in clause 1 and 2 earlier. Here they create an exception कि totally ऑफर करना है. आपने अगर उसको ऊपर ऑफर कर दिया है तो हम उसको सी में ऐड नहीं करेंगे, बट एटलीस्ट इट इज एडेड ट्वाइस if you have been assessed earlier. What is undisclosed income? As I have disclosed earlier, 158B, clause B में undisclosed income is defined, and the general logic or common sense is undisclosed income means something which you have not disclosed and which comes to the notice of the AO during the course of search. There's a second definition of undisclosed income, 158B, subsection 2. The undisclosed income falling within the block period shall be computed in accordance with the provisions of this act on the basis of evidence found as a result of search, survey word is included, or requisition of books of accounts, or other documents and any other material or information as are either available with the AO or comes to his notice during the course of proceeding under this chapter. Simple example. They have reopened your 5 years under a block period. You are a builder, all money of 5 crore is taxed as undisclosed income. At the same time, they found certain loan which you have taken to calculate your WIP or to calculate. They say, no, this loan you have taken, but you have advanced this loan to a sister concern, and therefore interest on such loan has to be disallowed. ये उसको सर्च में नहीं मालूम पड़ा, ये इसको in the course of assessment proceeding मालूम पड़ा. Or a second example, they found you have invested some money in some investments or some shares or somewhere from which you are earning exempt income. So they have invoked section 14A. What I'm trying to point out is all the additions which are not connected with your search, but which he makes in the course of assessment proceeding is also undisclosed income chargeable to tax at the rate of 60%. 14A का disallowance 60%, 3613 का disallowance 60%, some expenses जैसे personal in nature 60%. Of course, one will be happy if one calculates interest from last year to this year plus penalty. So 60% भर के, I think probably people would be happy. But the problem is it is getting taxed at 60%. So not only your undisclosed income, but your normal income is also getting taxed at 60%. Two things are excluded from the block assessment. Two things are excluded relating to the year of search. First one is any transfer pricing adjustments which they want to make for the year of search will be outside block assessment. It will be done in normal assessment. Only for the year of search. पहले के 6 साल का transfer pricing भी इसमें आ गया. खाली year of search का transfer pricing goes out. It will be done under normal assessment. And the next thing is total income other than the undisclosed income of the year of search has to be assessed separately. Inconsistent statements at various places. At one place, they say only undisclosed income of, for example, search is on 30th June 2024, 30th June 2025. Okay. So 1st April 2025 to 30th June 2025 will form part of your block period. The year of search for this 90 days, they found some on money undisclosed income, they'll tax you here. But income other than undisclosed income has to be taxed of the year of search under normal assessment, not under block assessment. How this is going to work, I have completely no clue, because at other places they say we will also tax your income of the year of search. At one place they say we will not tax income of the year of search other than undisclosed. So there are contradictory statements here and there. Now, Yes. For the purposes of computing, now tax is to be paid at the rate of 60% on your income which you have disclosed in return filed under 158 BC1 and undisclosed income which the AO adds. ये दो चीज पे 60% टैक्स आएगा. बाकी तीन चीज पे टैक्स आएगा नहीं आएगा तो at the rate of 30%. Law is not clear. According to me, tax has to be levied at 30% because block assessment is the assessment for these years. There is no other regular assessment. There is no other regular return of income. I have one more doubt. Once it forms part of block period, will it lose the identity of an income belonging to a particular assessment year or not? Example. There is no separate assessment. Everything is blocked. In 1 year, you suffer loss. In 1 year, you have disclosed return loss. What will happen to that loss? Will it be considered as a loss of that year or will it be considered as a loss of the block period? If it is a loss of the block period, how do you carry it forward? Until which year? So the point which I am trying to raise is, does the assessment year loses its identity and all 6 years become part of the block period? Or you have a concept of assessment year as well as block? For computing block period and for computing your undisclosed income, losses cannot be set off. What has to be done of those losses? Can I carry it forward or not? No clarity. Then the normal thing, they'll issue a notice. You have to file return of income in 60 days. If you file return of income in 60 days, they have to issue you a 143(2) notice, 142(1) and complete the regular assessment. If you don't file your return of income within 60 days time, it is deemed as if you have not filed your return of income. There is no scope of asking the assessing officer, please give me more time. 60 days is 60 days. 2, you cannot file a revised return under block assessment. Similarly, they have provisions for undisclosed income of any other person. It's a 153C, it's a 158BD hai. Now look at a drafting, where AO is satisfied that any undisclosed income belongs to, pertains to, what do you mean income pertains to or relates to a third person? Undisclosed income belongs to, pertains to or relates to a third person. I can understand a document or a transaction or a books of account or an entry or an evidence which relate to some other person. How can an income relate to another person? Drafting. Then the AO shall forward the respective books of accounts, documents, assets to the AO of the other party, and the AO of the other party will issue a notice under 158 BC. For the other party also, the block period will remain same up to the date of search of the first party and 6 prior years. Time limit for completion of assessments. 12 months from the end of the month in which search is completed. If transfer pricing adjustment, 12 more months. Plus they get an exclusion of time period between transfer of documents and records from the investigation wing to the search officer, assessing officer. So investigation wing is search kiya. They prepare that report that some report, and they forward documents and report to your assessing officer. Time limit to complete the assessment is 12 months from the end of the month. Assessing officer के हाथ में report ही 6 महीने के बाद आया, वो कैसे assess करेगा? They get time taken between this period or 180 days, whichever is less. So further extension of 180 days to complete the assessment. In case of a third party, time limit to complete the assessment is 12 months from the end of the month in which 158 BD notice is issued. So AO of the search party will hand over documents to AO of third party. But the biggest problem is there is no time limit to issue 158 BD notice. नोटिस इश्यू हो गया, उसके 12 महीने में आपको असेसमेंट कंप्लीट करना है, बट नोटिस कब इश्यू करना? There is no time limit this way. So there we have Supreme Court judgment in case of Calcutta Knitwear, which states that AO of the search party has to be satisfied that this belongs to other person. He has to record a satisfaction before the completion of assessment, at the time of completion of assessment, or immediately thereafter. So we are taking this argument before the courts that search took place, say for example in 2023. Assessment of search person completed in 2025. Documents handed over to AO of third party in 2026 or 2027. It is time barred because Supreme Court says it has to be transferred before the completion of assessment of search, at the time of completion of assessment of search, or immediately thereafter. Immediately thereafter can't be 1 year, can't be 6 months. It has to be immediately thereafter. Of course, there are some natural exceptions which are prescribed for exclusion of period of stay. Now, section 158BF says no interest under section 234A, B, C or penalty under section 270A shall be levied or imposed upon the assessee. No interest, no penalty. But 158BFA states that if you were supposed to file return of income in response to 158BC notice, within 60 days, you have not filed a return of income, then we will charge you interest at the rate of 1.5% per month for every month or part of the month, commencing on the day immediately following the expiry of time specified notice and the completion of assessment. Only interest consequence if you don't file a return within the time specified under 158BC1. Then 1.5% interest rate. Penalty. AO can levy penalty at the rate of 50% of the tax amount of the undisclosed income if such undisclosed income is not disclosed by the assessee in his return of income. So penalty is levied only in one situation. Penalty is levied only in one situation. आपके यहाँ सर्च हुआ, आपको 158BC का नोटिस आया, आपको एक रिटर्न फाइल करना है. रिटर्न में आपको आपका सारा अनडिस्क्लोज्ड इनकम डिस्क्लोज करना है. अगर आपने सारा अनडिस्क्लोज्ड इनकम डिस्क्लोज कर दिया, नो पेनल्टी. But if you disclose 1 crore, AO adds 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs का tax pay 50% would be the penalty. Then there are some other provisions that they have to take prior approvals of joint commission, additional commissioner before issuing notice and before completing the assessment. Now, I have some issues in respect of block assessments, which I think there are no answers to that. A, at one place they say, right, undisclosed income means assets, etc. found, entries found, which is not disclosed or which is not going to be disclosed. At other places, right, undisclosed income means income found as a result of search, real undisclosed, plus on the basis of any material or any other information in possession of the AO. There are two contrary definitions of the term undisclosed income. In the second definition, they also include normal additions, normal disallowances. But the problem is it is also taxed at 60%. Now, how do you define undisclosed income? The first definition or the second definition? Second inconsistency. Year of search. Year of search ka transfer pricing adjustment is outside the block period. Agree? No inconsistency. But the inconsistency is in respect of year of search, 158B states that total income other than undisclosed income of the year of search to be assessed separately. They are not even saying total income after the date of search. वो भी बात नहीं करें. Total income of the year of search. At other place, they are writing total income will include any addition in respect of any entry found in the books of accounts or documents or transactions before the date of search. Again, inconsistency. I am not sure whether in the year of search for the period up to the date of search, undisclosed income is to be added. What about an income which is not an undisclosed income? Will it form part of the block assessment or will it not form part of the block assessment? The next point we discussed earlier. Undisclosed income which you disclose in your block, in your return of income under 158BC. Now this is inconsistency. Sorry. In return in response to 158BC, you are supposed to disclose your total income, which includes your returned income as well. इसके ऊपर आपने already 30% tax pay किया हुआ है, 20% tax pay किया हुआ है. Section says income returned in 158BC is to be taxed at 60%. So जो income आपने already disclose किया हुआ है, in your original return of income, that you again have to disclose in return filed in response to a block assessment notice, and once you disclose that, it will be again taxed at 60%. They are not saying we are only going to tax your undisclosed income at 60%. They are saying we are going to tax your total income at 60%. So 3 करोड़ का इनकम जो आपने ऑलरेडी 139(1) के रिटर्न में दिखाया था, वो आप 158BC के रिटर्न में वापस दिखा रहे हो, प्लस 2 करोड़ का आपने अनडिस्क्लोज्ड इनकम, टोटल आपने 5 करोड़ का अनडिस्क्लोज्ड इनकम का रिटर्न फाइल किया है इन रिस्पॉन्स टू 158BC. पूरे 5 करोड़ पे दे विल टैक्स यू एट 60%. Four. At one place they write total income tax 60%. At other place they write only income offered in return of income and undisclosed income addition made by the EO will be taxed at 60%. There are 3 other categories of income which forms part of total income, which is A, your original assessed income, B, your original returned income, if not included earlier, and C, income of the year of search, basis the entry found in the books of account. The 3 items, no rate of tax prescribed. Is it that it is not going to be taxed, or is it that it will be taxed at normal rates? Nobody knows. Loss, if any, in the block period will be ignored for calculating your undisclosed income, because they want to collect tax at 60%. 115 BBA maybe they're not allowing you any set off, they have to tax you at 60%. चलो ठीक है, but उस loss का करना क्या है? Can I carry it forward? Can I set off in future years? If yes, how many years? Will the block assessment lose its identity? Will there be a separate assessment year or what? No clarity. They say ब्लॉक असेसमेंट का जो पीरियड स्टार्ट होता है उसके पहले का लॉसेस है दैट यू कांट सेट ऑफ अगेंस्ट द इनकम ऑफ ब्लॉक पीरियड. अग्री? वो 7 साल पहले का लॉस है, वो मैं ब्लॉक के सामने सेट ऑफ नहीं कर सकता हूं. Therefore, I have to carry it forward. Naturally, 8 years have lapsed. So उस लॉस का क्या करना है? Will it lapse or will I get further 7 years because you have not allowed me to set it off against my block period? No clarity. 5. I am filing a 158 BC return. There is some claim which I have not made in the earlier return of income. Or there is some income which I have offered to tax at a higher value. For example, you offered 1 crore capital gain to tax on the basis of a presumption that entire consideration will be received. 10% is kept in escrow account, retention money. वो आपको नहीं मिला. What is your real income? 90 lakhs. What have you offered? 1 crore. You can't revise your return because time limits have lapsed. You now get an opportunity in response to 158 BC to file a fresh return of income. My case is, my argument is, can I reduce my income? Can I make a new claim in a return filed under 158 BC1? I am not sure. According to me, yes, because ultimately you are assessing the total income, not the undisclosed income. Therefore, I am eligible to reduce my income. So these are some of the issues which are arising out of block assessment. And we are waiting for some clarity. We had made some serious representations to the CBDT that you please reconsider this block assessment, or at least rephrase it, reword it, at least give clarification for various issues, because we don't know how it is going to be interpreted and how it is going to be applied by the assessing officers. Probably we might receive some FAQs or some circulars clarifying all these issues, and we have to wait for that. Now, this, of course, the search provisions are applicable for search conducted from 1st September 24 onwards. अभी जो सर्च होगा उसके बाद होगा, उसके पहले वाला सर्च है वो सब जाएगा 147 में. So this is insofar as block assessment is concerned. Now the last topic for the day is reassessment. There is some amendment in the reassessment provisions as well. Some major amendments. Firstly, earlier search assessments and reassessments were forming part of the reassessment provisions. After 1st September 24, search goes in block assessment, and therefore search assessments would not be conducted under 147. It will be under 158 BC. Section 148 has been amended. Earlier, they used to give you 3 months time to file letter of income, or further extended by the AO. No further extension. Now you will have only time limit of 3 months. Return file करना है करो, नहीं करोगे it will be deemed that you have not filed return of income. Income escaping assessment is preceded by information suggesting income escaping assessment, which was earlier defined in explanation 1 to section 148. Now it has been brought in the form of section 148 subsection 3. There were 5 categories earlier: risk management strategy, audit objection, information received under 135A scheme, information received from the foreign jurisdiction under section 1990A, and lastly, information in consequence to or give effect to the order of any order judgment. These 5 categories continue under the new scheme. Under the earlier section 148, we had explanation 2, which stated in the following cases, it shall be deemed that there is an information suggesting income escaping assessment. Search, third party in response to search, and survey. सर्च एंड थर्ड पार्टी को वो लोग वहां लेके गए, सर्वे रह गया. सर्वे इज एडेड एज इंफॉर्मेशन सजेस्टिंग इनकम एस्केपिंग असेसमेंट. सो इन सर्वे केसेस देयर विल बी अ रीअसेसमेंट अंडर 147. 148A section is being completely replaced by a new 148A. First change, 148A, clause A stated prior inquiry before issuing show cause. Inquiry clause has been removed. No prior inquiry. 2. Earlier, show cause will state the information suggesting income escaping assessment. Now, show cause will be accompanied by the material which suggests income as escaped assessment. Of course, there are judgments to the effect that show cause cannot be blanket. It has to be accompanied by the material. Now it has come in the form of law. Earlier, show cause issue करने के बाद you were given time limit of 7 to 30 days to file a reply. After you file a reply, time limit to pass 148 AD order was 30 days from the end of the month in which reply is filed. All time limits removed. No time limit specified to be given to an assessee to file reply. No time limit specified for passing a 148 AD order. Because fresh time limits are prescribed in 149. Last point. This is probably a bone of contention before the department and assessee at this stage. You regularly receive 133(6) summons under this faceless collection of information. God knows who is the assessing officer who is collecting the information. You give some reply. You don't know how he is going to interpret or how is he going to use your reply. One fine day, you will receive 148 notice, and you will find this information has flown to your assessing officer because it's an information collected under 135A faceless collection of information. And in such type of cases, they are not supposed to follow 148A procedures. Directly 148 notice. Petitions are pending before the High Court to the effect that this exception insofar as information under 135A is concerned is bad in law, is ultra vires. ऐसा क्या special है ये information में कि आपको 148A नहीं करना है? You receive information from various sources. You put it to the SSC, show cause, reply, pass an order. What is so special about this information received under 135A scheme that you're not following 148 provisions? This is challenged before the High Court. In fact, very recently, Bombay High Court in case of Benafar Vispy Patel has passed an order because there we argued that as per their instructions, this is their internal instructions. Once an information is flagged in their system under 135A, shut your eyes, grant approval, issue notice. Don't apply your mind. It was a case where my form 26A shows I have received interest income of 9 lakhs. They have some different portal which shows I have received interest income of 27 lakhs. We argued your portal is incorrect. Your own 26A shows I have received income of 9 lakhs. Nobody applies the mind. 148 notice issued. We filed a writ petition saying, "Boss, I have received 9 lakhs. This is the bank certificate. How can you say I have received income of 27 lakhs? Who is sitting behind the screen? Who is applying its mind? How is the approval being granted?" In reply to my writ petition, department files an affidavit in reply stating that, oh yes, what income he has offered, she has offered is correct. Bombay High Court came down very heavily on the assessing officer. Don't shut your eyes. You may have received information from whichever sources. You have to apply your mind and you have to then issue notice. Not only the assessing officer, but also the approving authority. What is the approval for? Approval किस चीज का अगर directly notice issue करना है तो. So we are one step to the effect that you have to apply your mind. Of course, there are other petitions pending where we are saying this should be quashed because this information is not sacrosanct. Give us an opportunity, we'll deal with it. That is still pending. That exception that we will not follow 148 if information is issued under 135A still continues in the new reassessment scheme. 2 time limits. Earlier, the time limit was 3 years, 3 to 10 years. Provided assessing officer has in his possession books of accounts, documents, or evidence which reveals income as escaped assessment in the form of asset, expense, or entry of more than 50 lakh rupees. So they can reopen up to 10 years. And there were series of provisos, up to 6 provisos, which created some exception. Itna time exclude karo, itna time exclude karo, etc. etc. Because of the controversies, they have now come out with only 2 time limits. 149 subsection 1, time limit to issue 148 notice. They can reopen 3 years and 3 months from the end of the assessment year. Beyond that, 5 years and 3 months if AO has in its possession books of accounts, documents, or evidence related to any asset or expenditure or transaction or entry which shows that income of more than 50 lakh has escaped assessment. So now what is the time limit? 3 years, 3 months, 5 years, 3 months. 10 years, we have come down to 5 years. For going beyond 3 years, some additional conditions. AO should have in his possession books of accounts, documents, or evidence. Earlier, the wordings, they have also changed the wordings. AO has in his possession books of accounts, documents, evidence. Earlier also, AO used to have books of accounts, documents, or evidence. Earlier, the wordings were books of accounts, documents, or evidence which reveal. The word used was reveal. Reveal का अर्थ होता है which conclusively proves. They have removed the word reveal. Which reveals what? Income of more than 50 lakh has escaped assessment, which is represented in the form of asset expense entry. So 4 चीज था. एक तो books of accounts, documents, evidence in possession of AO. B, it should reveal something. It should reveal income of more than 50 lakh as escape assessment. And it should reveal, most importantly, income is represented in the form of asset, expense, or entry in the books of account. I'll give you an example. You transferred, you are a person who is not required to maintain books of account. You transferred a property, stamp duty value 5 crores, you transferred for 3 crores. You offered capital gain to tax at a rate of 3 crores. AO reopens saying 5 crore का stamp duty, आपने 3 crore में बेचा, 2 crore मेरे को tax करना है. He will tax under which section? 50C. This is the income which is escape assessment, which is more than 50 lakhs. Agree? Is it represented in the form of asset? It's a deeming fiction. Where is the asset? Is it represented in the form of expense? Is it represented in the form of entry in the books of accounts? I am not required to. You can't make an addition. You can't reopen. Forget addition. You can't reopen. Second example. I am a builder. I have a stock in trade of 15 units. AO says इसके ऊपर आपको notional rent pay करना है. More than 1 crore. They reopen beyond 3 years. Is it represented in the form of asset? Answer is no. It's a notional thing. I have not received it. Expense? No. Entry in the books of account? There is no entry in the books of account. You can't reopen. They realized. Therefore, they have amended. Now the wordings are has in its possession books of accounts, documents, or evidence related to asset, expenditure, transaction, entry. क्या बचता है मेरे को नहीं पता. सब कुछ कवर हो गया. Which shows that income of more than 50 lakh has escaped assessment. Probably, what you can argue is if you have no new tangible material, you cannot claim. Probably what you can argue is books of accounts, documents, or evidence should be related to asset, expenditure, or transaction. So I welcome Abitan as a speaker for the next session. So this is one of the major changes in section 149. The second change, Earlier, there was no time limit to issue show cause under 148A. वो कभी भी कर सकता था, उसके लिए टाइम लिमिट नहीं था. You had a time limit for reply to show cause and passing of 148 AD order. Those two time limits have been taken away, but now you have a time limit to issue show cause. Show cause cannot be issued under 148A beyond 3 years and beyond 3 years up to 5 years if income of more than 50 lakh has escaped us. In effect, before the end of 3 years, before the end of 5 years, issue show cause, complete the 148A proceeding within 3 months, and within 3 years, 3 months, and 5 years, 3 months, issue a 148. That is a law which they have amended and brought into picture. Approval before the earlier law, within 3 years, principal commissioner, principal commissioner or commissioner. Beyond 3 years, chief commissioner or principal chief commissioner. Up to 10 years. They have done away with bifurcation. There is only one approval required, joint commissioner or additional commissioner. 3 साल हो, 5 साल हो, एक ही approval. There is no change in section 151A. 151A says issuance of notice under 148 and completion of assessment has to be done in a faceless manner. We have at least 4 High Court judgments, Bombay, Punjab, Haryana, Guwahati and Telangana, which says that all notices issued under section 148 after 29th of March 2022 are bad in law because they have been issued by jurisdictional assessing officer and not by the faceless assessing officer. All your notices after 29th March 2022 are bad in law because they have been issued by JAV and not FAO. This controversy is settled by Bombay High Court, and Bombay High Court has passed at least 1,000 orders in this regard. Bombay High Court has gone one step further. They say not only 148, 148A show cause, 148 AD order has also to be passed by FAO and not JAV. सब कुछ उठ चुका है सर. आपका अगर अपील पेंडिंग है सीआई टेबल में एडिशनल ग्राउंड ले लो. बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट हेक्सावेयर का डिसीजन पर रिलाई करके क्लोज कर दो उसको. सी, there are exceptions to faceless assessment, which is central circle and international tax circle. So department is probably arguing before the High Court that in case of central circle and international tax circle, notice under 148 can be issued by JAV and not FAO because assessment bhi JAV ko hi karna hai. Bombay High Court says nothing doing. In those cases also, notice under 148 has to be issued by FAO and not JAV. Everything is cost and set aside, matter pending before Supreme Court. I don't know why department is not realizing that they should come out with some scheme or modify the scheme to give powers to JAV and not FAO. They think that they will win in Supreme Court and everything will get reversed. But they are not realizing that things are getting delayed because Supreme Court will decide this issue at what point of time God only knows. So thank you so much. This is from my side. I have dealt with PSV, I have dealt with reassessment, I have dealt with block assessment. If there are any queries, I will be happy to take it. हाँ. क्या है? Tell me. हाँ. Capital G, Bombay High Court. Yes, thank you so much for a patient hearing.
Thank you, Advocate Gandhi. It was indeed a very enlightening and in-depth session, which you dealt with in very simple terms and very lucid, and people can really understand the depth of the effects, the impact which the effects will have. So To propose a formal vote of thanks, I'd like to call upon our deputy convener. But before that, there are a few announcements which I want to make.